What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I thought I would run through tomorrow's NFL picks. Like I said, with the NBA season starting, I've been covering that a lot. I've been doing college as well, so I didn't get a chance to look at these picks until today. Earlier, I was looking at them when the college games are playing, and again, the good thing is about 80% of them you can just kind of look at the spread, see what's going on with the teams, and also the fact that if I use my metrics on some of them. Now, a lot of these are narratives because already we only have literally one team left that hasn't covered a spread, that is either winless against the spread, that hasn't gone over or hasn't gone under. There's only one team, and that's the Panthers. And the category they fall under is they haven't covered a spread. Today we had a good day. I don't want to go into every single game. We played a bunch of them, but basically I was hoping. So we still finished in the net, which I'm going to go into in a second, because our biggest play was the Vandy under, which hit. We were over 50%, which is nice, and we got the underdog in Kansas. Colorado is definitely not going to pull this off. We missed CSU and Wisconsin. Again, all big dogs. But that was basically my logic. Florida missed. My logic was if we got one of the dogs, we were probably going to be okay or better, which is exactly what we were. If we happened to get another dog, it would have been really good. NBA, speaking of really good, we had a really good day. 5-0. Jazz, we have them covering 5.5. So I'm just hoping that the gambling gods don't convene and decide to smite us. This happens a lot when the very final game seems to just take that cherry off the top of the sundae on us. But I think we'll be fine. So either way, 5-1 would be fine. But I think we'll probably go 6-0 today in the NBA. So the only really outstanding game is I think it's Oregon State covering Arizona. Colorado is technically outstanding, but they're not going to win. So for tomorrow, I like right off the bat, the Dolphins to cover this 8.5. Mostly because Patriots just got an upset on the Bills, who beat the Dolphins pretty bad. Dolphins lost to the Eagles. Patriots played the Eagles pretty close. I think more people are going to be on the Patriots for the potential upset. And even if people are taking the Dolphins on the spread, I don't see it getting pounded. So I like the Dolphins. I like the Jets to cover because they have made the Giants look okay now by winning a couple games, hanging in there at the Bills again, and say got Saquon back. The Jets haven't really done much. They've been kind of quiet about them. I think, like I said, they're just going to hang around like a moth to a flame until they start talking about Rodgers and how he's going to maybe come back. They teased it on the Manning cast, so to me it makes sense. You get the Jets in a position where, should Rodgers return, like I said, I don't see why they wouldn't be like a 6 or a 7 seed, sneak into the playoffs, and they can do some type of story with Rodgers. Jags Steelers, I like the Steelers straight up. I like them to win. It just seems like a game. I don't think they're going to do much with Pittsburgh, even though they would be 5-2. But they obviously, with TJ Watt getting a crazy push, they obviously like Pickens and the quarterback. I always mix Pickett and Pickens up, whichever one. I think it's Kenny Pickens. But they seem to like, or Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. Either way, they seem to like the team enough. Obviously, Tomlin's a respected dude. But these are the kind of games where I feel like most people are going to be on Jacksonville because they have just looked better. Pittsburgh's eked out games, and I think more people are definitely going to be on the Jags. So it's a game that typically I feel like this is a perfect game that Lawrence just plays like the guy that we usually see, where he just screws up, makes dumb plays, and they can accredit the Steelers' defense. They're doing the same thing with the Browns. So I think it's going to be a very defense-oriented division. It is what it's seeming like to me. So I like the Steelers straight up for the win. Falcons I like for the cover. Again, I think they're going to... I mean, it makes more sense for the Titans to win, I get, because it keeps all the divisions close. But like I said, we're not going to have every single team close in every division. You're always going to have a couple bottom dwellers, teams that just aren't good, teams that are rebuilding, and things like that. So I like the Falcons. Don't forget, we have a bunch of division matchups coming up, so they play, say, the the Panthers and they lose a game. I think they have another one against the Panthers. They play the Saints, lose a game. This division is going to come down to, like I said, every team but the Panthers in a three-way race for 8 or 9 wins. That's what I think they're going to have. So I like the Falcons for this win and for the cover. One of my favorite plays, and it's the best value that I'm picking. Actually, it's not the best value that I'm picking. It's one of them. I like the Panthers to win this game outright. Only team left that has not covered a spread. So yes, they could lose and cover, but to get the plus about plus 150, I'll go ahead and take the chance that they also win. So I like the Panthers to win this game. The only reason I don't absolutely love it is because I find it very ironic. Bryce is winless to start off his career after barely losing with Alabama. So it makes me wonder if they kind of run that narrative a little further. But I'm going to stick with the metrics and play the Panthers, and I'm going to go with them to win. So it's not exactly the metrics, or we'd be taking them to cover, but I'm going to take them to win. Rams-Cowboys, I like the Rams for the cover. I think, again, they're trying to establish the Rams as a good team again. That way them and the Seahawks could even look like somewhat of a threat to the Niners. And I think it was a week ago I went into a video just updating my playoff teams, and not many changed, to be honest. Like I said, the NFC, I only really booted 2 out. We booted the Panthers out in week 2 to put the Falcons in once I realized the whole Dion thing going on. And I like the Rams to get in the playoffs now. I really do. I think they have the most draws, and getting them back to the playoffs makes sense. Again, they just kind of pretended they sucked last year and there was no reason. So I think more people will be on Dallas anyway. So I like the Rams to definitely cover the 7 points. Vikings, Packers, I like the Packers in a pick 'em. I don't see the Vikings doing too well this year. I really think they're going to keep this narrative where they lose a bunch of close games instead of winning those close games. So they could get this win, sure, but I think, more people are going to be on Minnesota. We saw how they just looked against the Niners. Even with the Niners having injured players, they were just destroying their defense, and their defense is pretty healthy. So I think more people are definitely going to be on Minnesota. I like the Packers. Saints, Colts, that one's a close one. I like the Saints for the cover, though. This one's metrics. Saints are, I believe, 6-1 on the spread, so really bad. They just covered last week for us because we played that exact odd, and I'm going to stick with it. We did the same thing with the over as well because they had barely gone over, so they went over for us. But I like the Saints here to cover the 2 points. More people might be on the Saints, I get that, but I still like them to cover. I think they're going to be pretty close to the Falcons for the majority of the season. My second biggest value play, and I have one more that pays a little better, is going to be this next game. It's going to be the Commanders to win against the Eagles. I just think the Commanders, again, I think they're going to make the playoffs for one. They got rid of Dan Snyder. I think a couple of good things are going to befall them. And 7 points, while it's definitely a pretty heavy line compared to the rest of the games this week, I do think that not that many people are going to take the Commanders. They made a point of the quarterback coming out saying how he was disgusted. No, not the quarterback. It was Jonathan Allen came out. Heineke said something else. The quarterback, or not Heineke. Howell, their quarterback, he said something else. But Jonathan Allen came out and said he was disgusted. It was just completely unacceptable. So I think they could push that narrative of an angry Commanders team winning. Pays plus 250. So I like the win. If you want to be safe, go half to win, half to cover. That's fine. I know people that do that. Personally, I'm just going with the win. Browns, Seahawks. This one, just looking at the line, I like. But then I looked at the metrics and all the different things they've been doing with these teams. Almost double thought it, and then realized, 9 times out of 10 when I just go with my immediate reaction, it's right. My immediate reaction is the Browns should not be getting 3.5 points, especially with how they've been looking. I understand they just barely beat, I think it was the Colts, but even still, their defense is being pushed as literally the best since the Purple People Eaters. And after that Niners win, a couple wins in a row, I don't see why people would be on Seattle instead of the Niners, or not the Niners, instead of the Browns. So I like the Seahawks to cover the 3.5. And for my biggest upset of the week, is going to be the Cardinals to outright win, which pays a nice little plus 375. The reason I like it is because I just don't think anyone's going to be on the Cardinals. They had that one upset, and then they got pummeled basically every week since. Seahawks pummeled them, Rams pummeled them. So I think it definitely makes sense. The Ravens are looking really hot. And there's Steven brought this up in my Discord, and I had gone into how I go into this all the time. I watch First Things First, sometimes for the comedy, and Nick Wright went into a theory. And when the guy goes into certain theories, he seems to be right, and it's the comeuppance theory. And basically every week, yeah, it's since week one. The line, like the team that came out and looked amazing, got their comeuppance. It happened to the Cowboys when they wrecked whoever they wrecked. It happened to the Niners the week after they wrecked. I think it was the Cowboys. It happened to the Dolphins the week after they wrecked the Broncos is when the Bills beat them. The Bills wrecked the team and then lost to the Patriots. It's literally happened every week. And the Lions last week, after destroying whoever they just destroyed, just lost to the Ravens pretty badly. So the Ravens are the team that now, I believe, is due the comeuppance because they're the one everyone's talking about, like they're unstoppable. And it's an interesting theory. It's been a different team every week, and you can check. Like the team that won by the biggest margin and the most impressive win, lost in the next week after being glossed, all over by the media. So, yeah, I like the Cardinals. I think they're going to win outright, and it would be a 2-6-6-2. They love the palindromes. Again, it's a leg one for one unit, so it's not anything crazy, but I think it's definitely worth the play. Chiefs Broncos. I like the Broncos to cover. Horrible on the cover this year. They've covered, I think, one game. Chiefs have looked amazing, so I think money's going to be on the Chiefs. Chiefs probably still win because of Swift, but I think the Broncos are going to cover. This Bengals-Niners one's an interesting one. I think most people would agree it's a very suspicious line. Whether Purdy's playing or not, he hasn't looked good. I don't think there's any, and the Bengals are looking good finally. Like they started the season, I think 0-3. They won 3 straight. So, yeah, I don't see why people are going to be loving the Niners. So I like the Niners to cover the 5. But more importantly, my narrative is coming true. Eventually, it was going to. I'm curious how many times the commenters bring it up, because I had gone into the first versus last theory, and now we're getting that. We're getting Burrow, the first pick in the draft, versus Purdy, who is playing the last pick in the draft. I'm curious how many times they talk about it, but because of the line, because they lost 2 in a row, and I guess losing again would really get money off the Niners for the Super Bowl, but they could still win this game, and a lot of people are already saying that Purdy is a pretender after 2 losses. So for a lot of reasons, I like the Niners to cover this 5 points, and I'm curious how many times they mention first versus last. And speaking of last, here's our last pick. Raiders-Lions I'm going to go a little more into. A lot of times, like I said, especially for the next day games, the night games, I almost thought about waiting on the Chargers, but the Bears suck, so it doesn't change too much. And the Chargers kind of suck too. The Raiders-Lions, I'm curious to see how some of these other teams do. The Vikings game is going to be an interesting one. And how many blowouts we have to see how likely it is. Like I said, a lot of times in primetime games, back-to-back, they won't have 2 very similar results. Usually you get some kind of split. So if the Chargers cremate the Bears, then I might not like the Lions as much. Whereas if the Bears get the upset, I might like the Lions more. I know it sounds like goofy logic, but a lot of times the games will split. That all being said, I think the sucky Bears are going to win. I do, because I think that how else are you going to fire Staley? I had him getting covered last week because I thought that would get him fired. And now they're running with the article where players are saying stuff. The fan base has things trending on Twitter, and it's being brought up on ESPN, should he be fired, these types of polls. To me, they're just heading in that direction. You lose to the worst team from last year, or the second worst team from last year, one of the worst teams this year, and I think that's enough to get you fired. So I like the Bears to win the game outright. And it's going to pay basically the same as the Cardinals, a little less. I think it's like plus 350. So, yeah, those are all the picks I like. I'll be going into tomorrow's game as well. Like I said, I'm curious to see how the Sunday night game goes first. And like I said, I like some a little more than others. Here's all of our results from today, as well as what we have. We ran Vandy under as a leg 3 and it won, so that's obviously nice. Just the metrics. I was pretty darn sure they were not going to start 8-0 along with LSU against the spread. It's not very often in history you have teams at 10-0 against the spread. Like I say, on the over-under, if you go back as long as you want, you're not going to find teams that are undefeated on the over or on the under. So that one came through nice. We didn't get the cover, but that was only a leg 2. And you can see I didn't go into this because my over-unders I wanted to cover. I also am playing the over-under for the Broncos-Chiefs. That's why I said the Panthers game was almost my favorite play. I think it's set pretty high. I know it's a Chiefs game, but the Broncos do not do much as far as offense. So for it to be set at 46, I think the public's going to be on the under. Also, Denver is something to the effect of 1-6 on the over this year. So I like them on the over. I think public's going to be on the under really heavy. We closed UMass Army under. Same logic. UMass was 7-1 on the over. Just faded that. And we missed the USC under. I played that logic. Of course, it's not always going to come through. But I got the Vikings-Packers also going over the 41.5. That's going to be a leg 2 for 2 units. Basically, most of the ones I went over are leg 1s outside of a very select few. But anyway, this one's going to be one of the leg 2s. It's the over. So we're playing the game and the over in this one. We got the Packers winning and we got the over because the Vikings are so crappy on the over. Colorado, I'm imagining, unless miracle happened, they lost. I already chalked that up along with Wisconsin. Kansas was a nice win. I figured of the undefeated teams, at least one of them had to drop. Of course, we only got the one, which is all right because, like I said, because we got the plus odds, and mostly because Vandy coming through on the leg 3 for 4 units. We had a good college day, and we had a spectacular NBA day. Like I said, I think the gambling gods. So CSU lost. We have the Bears under. So that's my other over-under play. It's my last over-under play. I got 3 of them. We got the Vikings over, the Broncos over, and I got the Chicago Bears and Chargers going under because the Bears are like 6-1 on the over. Now the Chargers are they're like 2-5 on the under, so they're not great themselves. But still, I don't think the Bears are moving to 7-1 on the over. It can happen, but I'm going to lean on the under on this one. And yeah, we got Indiana covered. So we did pretty good with college. Like I said, definitely a profitable day. And we had a spectacular day with the NBA. We won every one. And the only open one is this Jazz one. So hopefully the basketball gods don't intervene and make us lose that game. It'd be nice to go 6-0. And last year we had a really good read on the West early. And then we started to read more teams. And we weren't so good on the East early. This year we started off, we're really good on the East. The West is most of our losses have come out of the West. We've done really good picking East games, so hopefully that continues. Again, it's still a very small sample size. And again, here's the rest of Dolphins cover, Jets cover. Obviously I went into why I like all these. These are all leg 1s for 1 unit. So the only one that's going to be a leg 3 is going to be that Broncos Chiefs over. And then we have a couple leg 2s, over and unders. And here's the couple upsets. I got the Commanders. I think they're going to win outright along with the Cardinals. 375, 350. So that would be nice. Or it's 250, I'm sorry. 250 and 375. And the Bears is 345. So, yeah, I think it's going to be another good day. Even if we have an average day, we had a really good weekend. It'll make for 3 weeks in a row that we were definitely in the green. If we have a good day tomorrow, then it might be the 3rd straight week we finish around double digits in the green. So that's always good. Very few weeks that we've been in the red by much, and that's the reason I do this system. Of course, there's going to be weeks we lose leg 3s, we just have a low hit rate, and it's going to happen. But it's still sustainable. We've been in the green since I started the season, and like I said, I'm going to do a video pretty soon, especially because it's like an additional thing that I offer